Review math number 7. This entire review is a ratio review because it's going to be a big part of your EOG and we haven't studied it for a while. So the first question says, the Tennessee population in '09 was this distribution here. It says, based on this information, write a ratio that represents the percent of the population who were the 65 and up age group to the percent of the population who were in the 0 to 18 age group. So I need to look at what I've got here. And when I do that, I see that the 65 and up, there were 13. So let me look at my problem here for a sec. First thing I want to do is I want to just highlight my problem a little bit. So it says the 65 and up age group to the 0 to 18. So when I look in my chart, I see the 65 and up, that's 13. So that's the first thing. And then the 0 to 18. Here's the thing though, 0 to 18 comprises these two things. So what I need to do is I need to have the total of this. So I'm going to need to add that. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to write a ratio of the 65 and up. Oops, my pen working. Of the 65 and up to the 0 to 18. So that's one way to write a ratio. I could also write it, oops, like this, or, so I've got it with the colon, the fraction bar, and the final way I can write it is the word 2. Okay, question 2. Question 2 says, what's the ratio of lemon jelly beans to grape jelly beans? Write it 3 times, or 3 ways. So I need to count my lemons. So I've got one, the yellow ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 8. All right, so it's 5 to 8. And the 5 is the lemon, and the 8 is the grape. And I have to write that 3 ways. So that's one way. So now write it 2 more ways. And then it says, what is it going to be? How many grapes are we going to have to add so that the ratio will be 1 lemon to every 2 grapes? So it says, how many grapes are we going to have to add? So the ratio will be 1 to 2. So you need to think about this. What do you need to do to get from there to there? And then you're going to have some mystery number that would work the same way. So that's what you have to figure out, that new ratio. And then it says, now what's the total number of jelly beans? So there's another question here, so don't forget to answer this question as well. All right, next one. It says the favorite sports of 132 students are listed in the table. And so I kind of started this off. And so I put my 132 here for students, and I put my percent as 100% because that's all the kids. It says how many kids were in favor of soccer. So I have to figure out how to get 25%. So I need to think about what's going to happen to go down my ratio table from 100 down to 25. Well, I'm going to be dividing by 4. And if I divide this side by 4, I need to make sure I divide this side by 4. So that'll be the answer to the first question. How many kids liked soccer? But then it says how many kids did not choose basketball. Well, here's basketball. So the kids who didn't choose it are this group, and this group. So you got to figure out how many kids that is. So you're going to go, first you have to figure out what percent this is, and then figure out how many that is. Okay, next one. A laundry detergent is sold in 4 stores. So I have this, I made the fractions. So I've got 60 to 650, 54 to 550, and so forth. Which store has the lowest price per ounce? So my numerators are my ounces. So I need to put a 1 here because it's per ounce, or each one. And then I'm going to put a 1 here, and a 1 here, and a 1 here. And now what I have to do is I have to figure out What do I need to do each time to get from there to there and then do the same thing here? And there to there and do the same thing here, etc. And it says to round to the hundredths place. So if I get an answer that looked like this, and this is just a made-up answer that I'm doing, I'm going to look here to here, and then this would be about 14 cents per ounce. Whereas if I got this, this is going to be about 13 cents an ounce because I'm looking, you always look from the place you're rounding to the number next door to decide. And remember, the number next door has to be between 5 and 9 to bump that number up. So find the unit rate for all of these, and then you're going to choose the least one because you want to have the best buy. And remember, you're rounding your answers to the hundredths place. Question 5. And then this over here is question 6. So it says fill in the ratio table with all the equivalent ratios. So the first thing I've got is I've got this. I've got 3 to this. So what do I need to do here to get to 1? Well, I divide by 3. So here I'm going to divide by 3. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. And 60 divided by 3 is 20. So it's 420. Then I've got to get from 1 down, or I've got to get to 6. So I could go here and just double stuff, and here and double stuff. I can't really get from 6 to 7, so I'm going to have to come back up here to my 1 and go from my 1 down to my 7. So times 7 there, and then times 7 there. And then fill in these other numbers here. So if I look here, I see that that relationship is a doubling and so forth. Then what you have to do is you have to graph it. So if I look at this, this column is my X, this column is my Y, and I look at it and I see I've got 1, 2, 3, so I'm going to count by ones on my X-axis. So I label my X-axis and keep my intervals nice and even, and I label my X-axis. So I'm going to put gallons of paint. And you need to fill in the rest of this chart. I just started you off. And then I'm going to count by 420s. And the reason I'm counting by 420s is because that was what my unit rate was. So how much I could paint with 1 gallon of paint. And so I go here and so forth. And then I graph those points on my graph. And this side would be labeled feet squared. And then I need some kind of a title up here. And then I'm going to graph my ordered pairs, so over 1 up 420, over 2 up 480, and so forth. So that's what you have to do. So this is 5, which needs to be completely filled in, and then 6. Question 7 says that the marmot is the largest member of the squirrel family. It has a body that is twice as long, so here's the body, as its tail. So we've got the body, and we've got the tail. And it says the total length is 54. So if you remember, you have to look at these 1, 2, 3 boxes and figure out how this can be split evenly amongst them. And then it says, what is the ratio of the body to the tail if it's 54 centimeters? So what I want to know is I want to know how long is the body and how long is the tail if the whole thing is 54 centimeters. Okay, next one. Mrs. Anderson traveled from Tennessee to Kentucky. Her trip was 490 miles in 7 hours. So 7 hours, 490 miles. And then we want to know the unit rate. So we're going to go about 1 hour. How long did it take her? Okay. Oh, there's Honey. She's dressed for Christmas. To celebrate the first day of school, Francine bought, my son-in-law calls this dog shaming, bought a tray of caramel brownies and walnut brownies. She bought 32 brownies in all, so she has 32 in all. and 24 of them were caramel. So 34 is 100%. So remember, with a percent box, it's 0 and 0 and 100. So I've got to think about, how can I get down to here? Well, I can't get from here to here nicely. So I've got to come up with some number that I can go down to and then come back up to. So if I go down to 8, that means I'd have 8, 16, 24, 32. So that would make this the halfway point, which would make this 50%, and then work it out. And then the last one, 30% of Mrs. Rutherford's students like chocolate ice cream in the class. So here we've got it. We don't know how many kids are in her class, but we do know that 30% of those kids enjoy the chocolate ice cream. So that's 6 kids. So once again, I can't get from here to here, so I've got to come to a nice number that I could get down to. So I could go down to 10 or 5 or 1. So if I go down to 10, that means that that's 2, and then go up to 100%. So do a good job for me. Make sure you've labeled everything really well, and I'm waiting to be impressed.